This is the world of company secretaries. On this channel, you can watch interviews with company secretaries across the world. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon. In whatever you have told us, you have worked initially at the bank with the traditional banking functions. Then you went to the manufacturing sector. Then your role started changing. You even worked with the SIG company, which was under BIFR. So different kinds of experiences are coming in that. So with all this, what made you shift in 2008 to ARC, your asset reconstruction company? Because with whatever I know, it was relatively a newer concept and not many knew how big it will be in India. Yeah.
So, actually, when you are saying this, that, what happened in, why I changed to ARC.
Yeah.
So the thing was like, when I left Legacies, I wanted to take a break. In fact, I decided to to think something and do something related to finance. In fact, I was very much interested in stock market, bourses, whatever. And so I had got an opportunity in Kuwait, and I went to Kuwait for some work because of LPO. I had that now some contacts or whatever. I mean, I started learning something. So I went to Kuwait for some work, and when I was there, I got a call from this ARC, which is a part of Kotak Group. And so I thought, let's give a try. And when I came back to India, and I just met CEO of Phoenix ARC at that time. So it was like they were just starting the entity, and I told them that I don't know anything about SARFAESI Securitization Act or distress. I don't know anything about it, and I know other laws and more of a company law and labor laws, of course. So, but they said we want a person who doesn't know about SARFAESI because then he can think differently, he can apply his mind differently, and accordingly, then I accepted the offer.
This is a very interesting story, sir, that especially for people who are watching, because most of them are students or young professionals, there could be, so we can't expect what the corporate wants. Based on your experience, you never know what comes to the table. Like you said, they wanted someone who's not an expert in SARFAESI, but who has handled different areas of law. So, right. So did once you got into the ARC, like how were your initial days? Like what kind of role you did initially, and what was the challenge?
So if you look at my profile, it's like I always later on. I mean, after 5-6 years of initial spending in the companies, like up to Camlin and then Leica, then when I joined SIBA, so always it was like a new company. So SIBA was, at that time, there was a demerger of Hindustan SIBA Gaigi, and then they started SIBA CKD. The SIBA CKD was SIBA of SIBA of Switzerland and CKD of Chankunda Corporation of Korea, and they started this new venture for manufacturing of reform piston. So that was a new venture. So there I started from setting up the department. Of course, company secretary was there, but he was on the verge of retirement. And post his retirement, I took over as a company secretary, and that was a full-fledged company secretary. First time I took over in a multinational company. So then I went to Thyssen Group. Again, it was a new company because Raymond sold its steel division to Thyssen Group in Germany, and it started. Then there also it was a setup and everything. Then later on, I then Fiat again. So everywhere it was a starting up and setup. So Legacies again, the whole new thing. We set up the Legacies, and therefore I when this Phoenix came in, and it was again a new venture. So I was very instrumental in setting up the drafting policies, setting up the department, liaising with R&T agents, and at that time everything was new. So the act is new, The field is totally new for me. And there were only 8 ARCs at that time in India. And I started attending the ARC association. So uh, I was instrumental in part of the ARC association at that time, negotiating with banks for drafting this assignment agreement, and various agreements which we entered into banks and financial institutions at that time. Some people may not be knowing also in ARC that we set up a team at that time, and we negotiated there in the IBA, and we could close what agreement we are signing now. So initially myself, State Bank of India, Axis Bank and IDB, Axis Bank and RCL, like some of JM. So some of the members of these various banks and financial institutions, we used to negotiate and did it. So it was very interesting. I mean, setting up something new, and trying out new drafting, because the ARC is like, uh, for any uh, for any acquisition we have to form a SPV. Function of ARC is very different, which I will tell you in later part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, now that you told us about your role in Phoenix initially, and also you explained with other companies where more of you setting up the organization, the department, the new laws, and having the templates and making sure everything is in order. Just for our viewers, if you can just give a small crash course in 2-3 minutes about what is an asset reconstruction company and what does it do, if you can explain with a small example, I think that will be helpful.
Sure. So basically, asset reconstruction companies are formed for the purpose of, clearing of non-performing asset mess. In simple words, the NPA's problem is not new problem; it's quite an old problem. And accordingly, in 2002, SURFACE Act was drafted. Now, ARC, or the Asset Reconstruction Company, is what? It is a regulated entity by RBI, and these ARCs are basically formed for the purpose of buying non-performing loans from the banks and financial institutions. Okay, so when bank has got a lot of non-performing loans, what bank will do is bank will sell its non-performing loans to asset reconstruction company. So bank cleans its balance sheet. In the bank के balance sheet में जो भी NPA होता है, that they will sell it to ARC, and bank will concentrate its own banking business. That was the idea. And of course, I mean, later on there were a lot many changes happened in last 12-13 years, wherein banks started themselves investing, where we call SR structure or whatever. But how it happens? So ARC forms a SPV. Okay, ARC doesn't take everything in its book. So what ARC does is ARC forms a SPV, and SPV buys non-performing loan from the banks and financial institutions. And for that SPV, the SPV should have funds. So SPV में funds किधर से आते हैं? So I will invest some amount. Now it is 15% minimum for me. So if I want to buy a asset of 100 rupees from, let us take example from State Bank of India ka paas NPA, I want to buy that NPA at 100 rupees. So I will put 15 rupees in that SPV. 85 rupees can be put by any QB, qualified buyer. Qualified buyer can be a bank, a financial institution, or an NBFC, like that. So they are defined who is qualified institutional buyer. So QB is the investor who can invest 85%, and I'll put 15 rupees there, and together 100 rupees I pay to the bank, and then bank gives me that non-performing loan. Now non-performing loan which I buy is along with all its underlying assets. Now what I am going to do with that asset? I am going to do a recovery through the process of SURFACE Act. Okay, so I'll enforce security interest. I will take the position. If it doesn't pay, I'll take the position of the asset. I will put it on the auction. Whatever recovery comes, I will pay to the investors. That is SPV investors. Now, when I buy from SPV and when you invest in the SPV, suppose that QB has invested 85, invested 15, so 100 rupees, whatever we have put. So when I'm putting, I should get something in back. So I get a SR. SR is a security receipt. So basically आप जैसे पैसे invest करते हैं आपको share मिलता है या डिबेंचर मिलता है, same way it is a SR. It is a security. It is defined under SCRA, Security Contract
Yes.
Regulation Act.
Correct.
Yeah, and SR can get listed also. So mostly, I'll not be surprised in coming 3-4 years the SRs also gets listed.
Okay.
So that is what Mota Moti is.
Yeah. I think you have told it in very simple words in a short form. I think we did get that idea very clearly, especially for students who are watching this.
Sure.
So now that you told us that, you are telling in the last line you told us, there is a chance that future you may have security receipts which can even be listed on the stock exchange. Now, can you tell us briefly about how big this asset reconstruction company sector is? Not just Phoenix ARC where you work, but generally how big this sector is, and what are the opportunities which are there? What kind of professionals are required? And lastly, are company secretaries equipped to take these roles? Sorry for the long question, but this is what
I got your point. I got your point.
Yeah.
So I will say I will not restrict it to ARC.
Yeah.
I will say it's for a stress asset business. Okay.
Stressed
So currently
asset
there are
business.
29
Okay.
ARCs. Yeah. So currently there are 29 ARCs, and so what ARC does? As I told you, there are non-performing loans, but it's not that simple process, right? So there's an auction. So bank wanted to sell the NPA, so bank to अपना जितना बेकार कचरा है वो निकालेगा, right? And then what I have to do? I have to negotiate. कि आप 100 rupees का लोन है, and there may be underlying security होएगा. The underlying security can be of 200 rupees or 20 rupees, or without any security. So I have to do a proper due diligence. I have to look at whether proper mortgage has been created or security has been created, whether charge has been registered in the proper with the ROC, right? I'll have to see all the loan documentation. I have to see sometimes physical visit to the assets, because on the paper it may be, but actually there may not be asset. So a thorough due diligence is required, both commercial as well as legal. So if you can understand how to read a balance sheet, nothing like it. But if you don't understand the balance sheet, but if you know the law, the most important is the law. So if you understand the law, typically Contract Act, banking regulation, and of course the Companies Act. So, or any kind of law rather. So if you start, if you do a proper due diligence, then definitely आपका you are in a driver's seat to negotiate. Yeah, and then you can advise your management that whether what are the recovery chances, at what price we can buy, and what are the recovery chances. So these are two important things. मैं कितने रुपए में ले रहा हूँ और मैं कितना रुपया recover कर. Correct?
Yes.
These are two major aspects. Now, the role of company secretary here. See, what I have seen that in most of the companies or in any industry, the company secretaries are usually look at only secretarial matters, and I always appeal to youngsters, and you will not believe that when I was a private, I am still private limited company. So when I was trying to get students for management training at that time 2010, I was not getting any student. I mean, I used to get 2-3 students, and because the student doesn't want to come, because he will say that I don't want to come because it's not a listed company. इसमें तो secretarial काम तो बहुत कम है. What is the exposure? That was the thing. Now the scenario has changed. Now I get a lot of many applications, but I think the most of the company secretaries, they think that I should get an opportunity in the listed company so that I get a exposure to the stock exchange, SEBI laws, and company law, etc., etc. But I will from this I take this opportunity from this medium to tell all the students that it's not necessarily that everything is in the stock exchange, right? So that is one of the aspects, one of the areas, but the other laws, I mean, you can exploit it. You can get a maximum exposure in the other laws, and if you are in a private limited company or even anywhere, I mean, not necessarily, or in a bank also for that matter, So I have come across a couple of company secretaries working in a bank or working in the private institutions or in the financial institution as well, where they are handling both the roles. And nobody of us, none of us rather, are repenting that, I'm not getting a maximum secretarial role per se. So what is secretarial role? Finally, it's a compliance. So one, I'm doing a compliance, and the other whatever role I am performing is so helpful in your personal growth. Okay, so the opportunities are huge, and therefore I suggest, and I will tell everybody that if you get any opportunity to learn anything, you should just grab it, and also you should have market sense. Now, market sense, it means what? Market sense means I'm saying currently what is happening in the market, economy, which sector is doing well, which sector is doing bad, what are the opportunities of particular sector, globally what is happening. I have seen most of the company secretaries lack in this. They are prepared when I call for the interview. They are prepared only. They have got knowledge, bookish knowledge. So I I I suggest. I always tell in MSOP also that you try to grab as much as possible and not necessarily limit your knowledge to secretary. Fortunately, I'll tell you, our course is so fantastically designed. It is not only to limited to for one company law. It is covering everything. And private limited companies now get listed, now list their NCDs, or they privately place their bonds. Yes. They get listed, and therefore you become automatically listed. Now my company is listed, so I'm doing listed compliance also. Yeah, so you get an opportunity. Yes. It's not like that.
Yes, sir. I think you have told it very wonderfully that there's a huge scope. And as company secretaries, if you equip yourselves and get good knowledge in these laws, there are good opportunities in the ARC sector.